Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back with Naval Action, and today I've got a match for you featuring the Trincomalee. It's been a while since I've actually played this ship. I've been spending most of my time in the USS Constitution. I recently unlocked the Bologna, so I'm sure I'll have something for you in regards to that ship eventually. It's just that with those larger ships, you really have to pick your battles because sometimes you check the PvP matchup rooms and there's just no room to have that type of ship. So I usually stick to the Constitution, the Trin, Surprise, and sometimes the Snow. And once in a while for fun, we'll go back to the small ships like the Lynx or the Yacht, just because they are a blast. And I think that's the nice thing about this game as well, is that even though you unlock different ships in this alpha test, a lot of the others still remain enjoyable. When I was playing in, I think, the Surprise the other day, somebody said, you know, I thought you had bigger ships. I said, I do, but I like these ones too. Surprise, a lot of fun with it. Trin's still a good ship, even though I do prefer the Constitution. One thing I'll say about this is that I really do like the 18-pounder long cannons. The range that you can get with them is absolutely fantastic. And I kind of miss it. The Constitution, I've been going with 18-pounder regular cannons alongside the 24-pounders, which are also non-long cannons, if you will. So I try to keep them the same. I guess you get faster load times with the non-long variants, which I guess is fine. It's really going to come down to your play style. If you feel that you need more of that range, you know, going with the longs could be a good idea, but it seems like most battles end up close quarters anyway, so I think most people try to stay away from them. I don't know. You know, I think that might be something nice to chat about in the comments. You know, what kind of cannons do you prefer? Do you like the long guns? Do you like standard cannons? Is the reload time really significant? The one thing I didn't originally like about this ship was the fact that it healed quite a bit. And RamJB and I have argued back and forth about this versus the Constitution, and he seems to think that the healing in some cases can be used as an advantage, because if you're healing, let's say, heavily to starboard side and you're wanting to shoot your port broadside at something, you know, really far away, that kind of gives you extra elevation. So I can see where that's an advantage in that case. The downside, though, is in a close quarters situation if you're healing too much to one side, and then you can't get that gun depression. So it's tough. Right now you can see me here finding out that I think I had carronades on the front of my ship for the bow chasers, and I was like, oh crap, I meant to use those for chain shot, and they're going to be too short range, so I didn't fire again. But right now, this situation here, it looked pretty messy for us with our Santissima going in off of their flank, and a couple of us here in the front. But it seems to be splitting the team a little bit here as we get into close quarters range. You can start to see those name tags now, which for me can be problematic. Let's face it. You know, this is a game where you see those name tags, there's no cover. You tend to shoot at your friends. You tend to shoot at people you know to be really good at the game. You tend to shoot at YouTubers and streamers. It happens. It comes with the territory. Whatever. To me, it's not a huge deal, because when you do get that, even if it's just a friendly rivalry, it's like, oh, there's my buddies on the other, I'm going to kill him. Sometimes when you're focusing on something that's not a priority target, you're hurting yourself and the team. So often when people decide to focus fire me for whatever reason, it's like, well, go ahead, but oh yeah, check out that HMS Victory sneaking in on your 6. You know, it's like maybe you should have been looking at that instead of me type of thing. It happens all the time, whether you're in a plane, a tank, or a ship. You got to really prioritize the right targets at the right time. Now, of course, there are targets of opportunity. In this situation, if I get shot, it's simply because that surprise might be able to shoot at me more than anything else. Or the Bologna, you know, it's just whatever makes sense. You got to shoot at whatever you have based on the types of cannons, reload time, and angles of fire and all that stuff. So it's to be expected. In other situations, I think people target based on how good a player is, or how good you know or think a player is. Let's take Ram JB, for example. The guy is usually a priority target no matter what ship he's in. I mean, I've seen him in a yacht before getting focus fired by much larger ships early on in games, simply because it's Ram JB and it's the guy that makes all the YouTube guides, and well, he's good at this game, watch out, get him. Or, you know, hey, kill him, he's a YouTuber. It happens, but again, sometimes you're wasting your time and you should really be focusing on the things that are going to kill you. Now, yes, range has a lot to do with things. So let's say there's a Santissima all the way across outside of your range, to the point where if you fire at it, you're only going to chip paint and do nothing else. And so maybe you should shoot at something that you can damage. You can, of course, aim for sails, try to knock down some masts, weaken them at least, use some chain shot if you feel that you're going to be ineffective against hulls. But I do understand when shots ring in and it's just because you are something that can be damaged at range. That's totally fine. But there was an interesting idea in the forums, and it's one that I think I've seen within MechWarrior Online, where instead of having the player names on the enemy team, you would have a NATO alphabet designation. So you would say Focus Fire Alpha or Bravo Charlie Delta. You know, you would just have that on each mech instead of the name. So there's Alpha, Bravo, and so on. And so in this case, you would just dump the names from the enemy team and have the NATO alphabet or something similar. That way you could still call targets, but you wouldn't know the name. Now, you can see the list, the player list, and you can see the ships. Maybe that would need to be blotted out as well, and you would just see what ships are on the other side without saying who they belong to. But then I can see problems with that idea in regards to the lobby system that we have currently. Again, it's not a big deal, but it was just an idea by one of the players in the community. I think that it's decent. I know Ram JB would love to have that because he's generally a priority target for most people. Not even because of YouTube, but just because he's really dang good at the game. But I'm for that idea. I don't think it hurts anything. I know we had brought it up with Game Labs at one point, and they had said that it was common practice to hail another ship before engaging it. I don't know if that is the case in all situations. Again, I don't know a whole heck of a lot about the Age of Sail, and so I kind of imagine that it didn't always happen, but maybe if it was like two proper military vessels about to engage each other, then sure, maybe it happened. But again, I don't know enough to comment on it, so that would be something interesting to talk about within the comments today as well, as I just don't have that knowledge. But I think that that's a decent idea. I think in open world it'll be completely different. We'll have different identifiers. You'll probably know after a certain point in time what kind of ship people are sailing. Like, oh, I know so-and-so has this class of ship, and it's this color, and they have this flag. You know, you'll be able to identify them with their ship decorations and other physical attributes, as opposed to just a name tag. I do kind of hope that that attention to detail is there, which is another reason I'm just in general looking forward to open world. But back to the game in hand, you can see I'm about to square off with this surprise. Thankfully, I've got double shot loaded on my port side this time around. I've been trying to get a little bit better at loading the correct ammo for different engagements, but I think this is going to hurt him a little bit more. He's probably got double loaded up. You can see we both go into battle sails. I'm already weak on this port side, so it does sting, but I think we've got him to, let's see, passing 50% there, so yeah, that hurt quite a bit. And I've got a couple of leaks that we'll need to take care of. And I've also got this Bologna off to the starboard side, so this could be bad. You can see the ship's heel there, but we should be able to get it with double shot, hopefully. This is when the heel can be problematic. You can see the shot going a little too high. Generally, when you fire your cannons, you want to try to aim low and hit the ship at the water line, so the leaks will be more of a problem. We've got some nice speed with this ship, but yeah, I just cannot get these shots off, so I start to forget about that and work on my sailing. The one thing here you notice is noticing all of my armor disappearing, and it was one of those things where I was paying attention to a few too many other things, but then I pop a repair kit and we're fine. Set it to survival, start bailing that water, and thankfully we've got some allies here, so we're able to utilize them as cover. And what better cover than a Santissima? So we're off to go repair armor and bail water. Thankfully the pump's not hit, because when that happens, it is painful indeed. Beyond that, I believe larger ships are supposed to have multiple pump systems. Currently, each ship only has one pump, meaning that if you spring a leak, a severe leak, and you start taking on water, you're not able to get rid of it as fast. And apparently, some of these larger ships had more pump systems in place to take care of that type of issue. So in the game right now, if you're in a larger ship and you're suffering in that regard, keep in mind that I think with the new damage model you'll see a change in that area. But another change I kind of wanted to talk about, just in regards to aesthetics, is the sound effects. And I've always said that they're absolutely fantastic, but one of the devs dropped by my live stream over the weekend and it stated that they're working on the sound effects, wanting to improve them. I'm like, is that even possible? They're already fantastic, but apparently, yeah, they want to get the sounds even better than they are right now, and that absolutely excites me because, as I've said time and time again, I feel that developers neglect sound design. I think it's just as important as visuals, and I'm glad that Game Labs gets it. They also make another game called Ultimate Generals Gettysburg, which is a Civil War strategy game on PC and eventually, I believe, on mobile, iPad. And it sounds fantastic. You know, the gunfire and the cannon fire within that game is absolutely exquisite as well. So you can tell that Game Labs in general just cares about sound design, and 2 thumbs up. Loving that, and I can't wait to see, actually, I can't wait to hear what they come up with for improved cannon fire in this game. Alright, now that we're all patched up, we can start looking at targets once again. I did have to use a few more kits than I wanted to, but I think our team is doing pretty well. I was worried about how this matchup had started, just because we were going in a whole bunch of different directions, but somehow it's worked out. I don't know if it was part of a plan or just dumb luck, but in any case, I'm happy. And we've got a Constitution on our starboard side, so we can start engaging him. Double shot loaded up. Ship's healing a little bit, but that'll give us some extra range. We've got long guns, so this really isn't a problem. I do like the 18-pounders, just because of their range, penetration power. It seems they have is pretty nice. You know, unfortunately, against the much larger ships of the line and whatnot, they're not super effective. But I've always been the kind of guy that tends to lean towards range and accuracy in a variety of other video games. So I guess it would kind of be the same here, but it's a different type of warfare, so you do need that damage and the firepower, and I think that's why I missed the Constitution, because once those 24 pounders kick off, you just see that armor bar drop like nothing. And those are just 24 pounders. I mean, imagine the 32s and the 48s and stuff like that. I can imagine that having, you know, much larger is even more satisfying on some of those bigger ships. But, you know, these 18s, they get the job done. You can see here, putting some more rounds into the Constitution, bringing down his armor on his starboard side there a little bit. And really all it's going to take now is a good broadside from one of our other ships. He's able to catch me here, though. Tail end, it looks like, with some shots. Couldn't escape him. I could have outrun him and avoided this shot, but I think I got a little greedy there and wanted to get some damage in, and took a shot instead of evading. But I think we'll be okay. Get into survival mode. We've got one more repair kit, and I still see a lot more green, so it looks like we've come out on top. That guy should be almost finished. Yeah, he's worse for wear. If I don't kill him, somebody else will. You can see those final shots ringing in, so he's lost an entire broadside there. So I think that's that for him. Leaving perhaps some smaller ships around. You know, the funny thing is you can get through the whole game and there's maybe a lynx left over, and then it's all about trying to sink that lynx. And even though you have a whole bunch of guns to shoot at it, the thing is so small that if you don't have the accuracy, that thing's going to be sailing for quite some time. Remaining shots out there, unfortunately landing short. I think he sailed away at an angle, and the ranging shots did not account for that. But, you know, I've been playing this game for quite a while now, and I keep telling people I'm not bored of it yet. I keep thinking, when is that going to happen? I know it's just an alpha test, and this is just a small percentage of the game. But you'd almost think that being in a small oceanic area would get stale after a while, but for some reason it hasn't. It feels like every battle is unique. Every battle is different. You learn something new each match, and it just never ceases to be satisfying. And I'm trying to think about why that is. Is it because the game is somewhat relaxing? Is it the satisfaction of letting loose an entire broadside? Is it the teamwork? Is it a culmination of all these things? I don't know. It just hasn't gotten old for me yet. And I hope it doesn't, because that's one of my #1 bad habits, is just getting tired of games that I shouldn't, just because I'm always looking for something new. I think when open world pops, it'll be interesting to see how things play out, because you're not just engaging in combat. Right now, it's pretty much a deathmatch mode. I often think about how the video content on YouTube will differ. You know, what will it be about? What will I be showcasing? How much travel time will I feature? How will I have to edit that footage? You know, will combat be super rare? Will there be missions, exploration? You know, all these things that they've talked about in regards to the development of the game. I'm looking forward to seeing it, because, yeah, I do like more than just pulling a trigger. That's why I play games that are a bit more tactical, or I try to. I can play an arcade game. I can enjoy an arcade game from time to time, but I tend to play things that provoke thought. And I think movement, I've said this before in probably a tank game, movement is a large part of the battle. It's not just about pulling the trigger. Yeah, you have to practice your accuracy, trigger discipline. You got to watch for friendly fire and so on. And there's all these things related to the trigger pulling aspect of a game. But it's also about cover and movement and just proper positioning and angling and all that stuff. That's a big part of warfare to me. And if you discount that, then you're setting yourself up for failure. Plain and simple. Especially in a game like this. Because the movement that you made a minute ago can drastically affect the outcome of a battle. It can place you somewhere that you either need to be, or perhaps somewhere that you don't need to be. And when that wind changes, it can really affect your game, and perhaps even affect the team as a whole, especially depending on what ship you're in. So really think about all the tactics that go into naval warfare and warfare in general. Apply them to this game, and I think you'll see greater success. Looking back at the game now, we've got Sears and his snow on the way, trying to put some final rounds into us before he goes. I really still do enjoy that ship. Nice and maneuverable, but when you get into these bigger matches, you're just a fly on the wall. And if you tend to get focus fired a lot and you're in a smaller ship, it doesn't really help very much. The only thing that's going to keep you alive is some crafty sailing and repair kits. Speaking of repair kits, I noticed that a lot of people shy away from this game because they exist. And generally it's something that I tend to complain about in other games, like tank games, where you have repair kits and you can repair in the middle of combat. And so I wanted to discuss that a little bit. And while, yes, if I am playing some sort of tank game that's supposed to be simulator-esque, then yeah, I don't really like repair kits. I will say that with this game, I've decided to go into it with an open mind and with very few expectations. I try to come into this game thinking, well, you know what? This is just a game that I can enjoy, that I'm not going to necessarily take too seriously. Although I usually end up taking most of my games seriously at one point or another. It just happens. I think the way I look at it is like, look, okay, it's this Age of Sail game, which you don't know a whole lot about, even though I'm trying to learn. It's just this other game that you can enjoy, and there's this mechanic within it that is just there, and after a while you just kind of get tired of trying to fight gameplay mechanics and say, well, I don't like this, remove it, or whatever, and you just kind of want to play a game. And I think for me, the other reason that I'm really enjoying this is because I'm just letting go of certain things, realistic or not. You know, you've got 3 repair kits currently in this game. You can repair masts in combat quickly. And yes, some of that stuff seems ridiculous. The mast repair, I think, is the worst of it. But I'm not going to let repair kits in this kind of game or other strange mechanics get in the way of my having a good time. If I do that, if I'm always critical of all of those things for every single game that I play, then as I've said before, I'm just not going to have a lot of games to play. So I kind of let it go. And besides, I think when open world hits, that mechanic might be a little bit different. I'm assuming that things will cost in-game currency, that you might not have as much extra timber or repair equipment or supplies on board, and you might have to think about your cargo space and think, well, I can take more ammo, or I can take more, you know, materials for repair. And so again, this is just the beginning, a very tiny percentage of what the game is. So if you're letting little things like that scare you away from the game, I wouldn't, or I would at least recommend keeping an eye on the title and seeing if things change in the future, because I have a feeling that they will. Just considering the nature of open world gameplay, I think some of those things just have to change. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to bring today's commentary to a close. I will, of course, continue to run the rest of the match so that you can see the final results. Take a look at the damage done. I know that some of you are interested in seeing that. Don't forget to check out my good buddies Bismarck and RamJB. I'll have links in the description below. They are, of course, updating their own naval action content, which is always worth checking out. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, really hope you enjoyed today's look at naval action. Stay tuned for a whole lot more. I will definitely see you on the next one.